He was so unprofessional. It was ridiculous. His shooting practice, after 3 shots, he's knackered. Oh, no.
He turned up with a load of gangsters, right, as his agents. That's why I'm not mentioning his name, because I don't want him to come around to my house.
Not bad for someone who gets compared to Hazard, whilst Hazard is sat with a packet of crisps. A
lot of us play Football Manager. It's like, Chiesa is going to be our midfielder and Barella's coming in tomorrow and get rid of Longstaff and this. It's like, no.
Dodgy sources as well.
No, stop pointing at him.
Is there a big one you've got wrong?
No.
I remember playing against George Weah. He looked at me back just to check who I was, who my name was, and I was like, oh. Hang on, David. Oh, what's happening here? Come on.
Breaking news.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fan Debate. This is a transfer window special brought to you by SkyBet, and I'm joined by Paul Scholes, David Ornstein. Scholesy, you're involved in transfers a little bit now, aren't you? You weren't as a player,
no.
But you're involved obviously at Salford with the ins and outs. Can you explain how stressful it is, the transfer window?
Yes, a little bit. It can be. Obviously, when you think you've got a player and you haven't, it can be upsetting. It can make you a little bit angrier than you possibly should be. But look, I really enjoy it. It's obviously.
Hang on, David. Oh, what's happening here? Come on.
Breaking news.
Is that a Salford player?
I'd take it before.
Not yet, but they might be.
I'd take it before Fabrizio gets the story.
But obviously, we work at a different level than obviously Premier League stuff. We don't buy players. Usually, don't buy players. We have actually bought one for 100 grand a year ago. I think that was, who, funnily enough, got injured for the full season. He's only just started playing now and looking good. So we're relying on free transfers, really.
So later on, we're going to talk about the worst transfers. So would that go into the worst transfers? If you spent 100 grand,
he started the season really well, actually. He's doing all right for us. But we have a head of recruitment. He just, because me, Ryan and Nicky are the ones who are involved, obviously, with Carl, the manager. And we don't really know the league. We don't really know that many. Well, we do now because we've been doing it for 2 or 3 years. But when there's certain positions come up, there's certain players come up, we have a head of recruitment. He knows every single one of them. We've all got Y-Scout as well. I think you use that, don't you? So we use Y-Scout. You can tap in. It's brilliant. You can have a look at clips and like almost an automatic video report. Look, I enjoy it. I think there's a bit of thrill to it. You know, when you actually get in contact with a player and you're trying to persuade them to come to your club, and then you actually do it and they agree, you agree a deal with the agent and stuff. There's a reward to it, and they go on to the first team and hopefully do okay. That's the ambition. But no, we're in League Two, and there's a lot of money floating about. You know, you don't realise. You think last year the Stockports, the Wrexhams,
Salfords.
No, we had a few ownership issues this year, so we're never quite sure where the budget was.
David, I mean, I want to ask you about how you find yourself in the position that you are in terms of seeing as the guy who everyone follows on social media to break transfer news first. I mean, what was your journey to get to the position that you find yourself in now?
How long have you got? I don't want to bore you to death.
You took a while in the other episode, so go on.
I was, like most other people here and outside, just a massive football fan, played a lot, and I was on trial for a year at Chelsea as a kid. And when that dream died because I wasn't nearly good enough, I started to get work experience when you're at school, and it happened to be radio station, Capital Radio London at the time, which had guys like Jonathan Pearce, Mark Pugach, all these top commentators and reporters, presenters, and got a flavour for the media. And I thought, if I'm not going to be playing football or sport, it'd be good to be involved in the media side, sort of telling the stories, commentating. And then I fast forward a little bit, went and did a fantastic journalism degree at Bournemouth University, BA in multimedia journalism down there, fantastic course which prepares you for industry sort of standards. I went from there to The Guardian and did a traineeship for a year, and that was really just reporting on the industry. I was like a member of staff going up to grounds up and down the country, press conferences, interviews, football, rugby, cricket, tennis, whatever I could get my hands on. My year at The Guardian was fantastic. It was when Wigan were in the Premier League under Paul Scholes. I went up there a lot because for some reason nobody else wanted to. So that's a good principle, actually, just putting your hand up and saying yes to everything. Picking up contacts, going to conferences, and even things you don't want to, premieres of documentaries, movies, you name it, going to fan evenings at clubs, Portsmouth and Bolton.
When you go into these events, was there a moment like that was a game changer for you in terms of maybe getting a contact that's giving you lots of information over the years? What was that turning point to find yourself in the position that you are now?
So it wasn't actually one moment with contacts when I became professional, because in that time you are picking up phone numbers wherever you go, building relationships, talking to people on the phone, texting them minute after minute, hour after hour, day after day, and they need to be proper relationships by and large. Some people, it will be transactional, they don't want that, but they will share information or give clarity on a story, and especially these days when people know me and others for doing it the right way, for not, I don't know, sensationalizing or representing something poorly, always making the correct checks. And so that benefits you because people will come back to you and explain things to you in the future that allow, they impart their trust in you to be able to deliver stories in print, at The Athletic now, BBC previously.
What would you look at now and say is the biggest story or transfer that you've broke?
It sounds arrogant because there are quite a lot of options, and I don't mean it to come across that way.
Right, it does sound arrogant.
Yeah. I really liked the story that Mesut Ozil had signed a new contract at Arsenal, and I had the details of what the contract and the duration.
Well, you must have better than that.
That was the big story at the time because Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil were both out of contract in the summer.
Have you got closer links to Arsenal? 'Cause I always felt that when I've seen some of your stories. I always thought maybe you were an Arsenal fan, or there was a link to Arsenal. You felt like you got Arsenal stories more than any, I would say.
So obviously coming through the industry and working in London, and I think I'd done one of my many pieces of work experience at university was I was able to write for the Arsenal monthly magazine. You apply for all of them and they came back to me. It was a guy called Andy Exley. I think he's still involved with the matchday programme as well, and I had a little bit in the matchday programme for the final match at Highbury before they left against Wigan. And so maybe went to some events, picked up some contacts around them. They were obviously very newsworthy, they always have been. Bumped into players or staff or people close to Arsenal living in London, agents, etc. And it just gravitated towards that. I remember breaking the story of Robin van Persie moving from Arsenal to Man United. So there were a lot of those sorts of stories at the time. Klopp signing a new contract at Liverpool a couple of years ago was a big one because there was uncertainty there.
They're big enough.
Van Persie's a good one, isn't it?
Van Persie was a good transfer story to break it, and maybe Declan Rice's deal being done with West Ham and Harry Kane's deal with Bayern Munich. And
when do you actually release it? Did you talk about Harry Kane and Declan Rice, was it? When are you confident enough that that's going to come out and be signed?
Not until they're holding the shirt up about 2 months later. No, so
you just leak a bit of news first?
No, absolutely not. I will hear some information and it can come from absolutely anywhere, from somebody inside a club, somebody involved in the deal, players, agents, family, executives, physios, kit men, canteen staff, somebody that delivers the post, drivers, somebody putting the private jet booking in, you name it. There's absolute fans pick up on stuff all the time. Like I respect every single source, wherever it may be, and I check it out in the same way. So you then go to your network of contacts, which has been built up over time. And don't forget that many people that you come across in your life and career, they move to different clubs. You might have somebody that was working at a non-league club or a foreign club who you bumped into at a match or a conference and you stayed in touch with, because I never ever burn a bridge, even though you want to tear people's heads off at times. And you never know where that person will end up. They could come from that club in a different country to work at Manchester City or Liverpool or Southampton or anywhere. And so you will go, when you hear this information from wherever it may be, to trusted people and check it out. Sometimes you can't get hold of them, sometimes they don't want to speak to you, and that's okay, it's acceptable. You explore other avenues. If you're hitting brick walls, then you say, fair enough. You know, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll try and explore different paths, but it might not happen. But in many cases, it does happen where they say you're along the right lines, or they give you the information and say, yeah, you're right. Or they come to you with the information because they know you'll handle it best. You've then got to find other people who can corroborate it, who are not in touch with that person. So if I heard something from one of you guys at Salford, I can't go to your fellow owner and ask because you're sort of related in that sense. You need to go to somebody at the other club that you're said to be doing the deal with. Mm-hmm. And then when you feel, and your nous and your experience tells you that we're in a good position now, you speak to the parties involved. So you'll talk to maybe an executive at one of the clubs or the National Association or a company, whatever the story may be, to get even further detail on it. And then you'll go to the comms department, the communications, the press office, and say, look, I've got myself in a position where I'm ready to run this story. Is there anything you want to add or clarify? And normally in my position now, thankfully, and I feel very blessed for this, they almost all cooperate because they know that I wouldn't come to them unless I was sure of it. I would just not come forward at all. In some instances, they might push back against you and say it's wrong because it might be that you've got the wrong end of the stick or things have changed in the situation. In some cases, they're not telling the truth. In some cases, they don't have the full facts. And then you need to make a decision. So you go back to your editors, you discuss it amongst yourselves, and you decide, right, we're absolutely rock solid here. We need to press on. Or we're not quite sure. It's best to stand back. Sometimes there are legal implications, so we need to go to our lawyer and have a discussion about it. And on occasions, you make the wrong decision.
Is there a big one you've got wrong?
No.
Well, that's a good place to finish, David, because my man, Billy over there from Brentford, you've got a question.
Transfer window, okay? I'm going to have to ask you a question, right? Because something that really bugs me about the transfer window, it's too long. Do you think it's too long? Because I think it's ridiculous that we've got these 2 months that the transfer window goes on. But in reality, you could do them deals in about a week, right? So why don't you just cut the transfer window down to a week and then everyone can get their deals done at the same time. And also the other thing is that they used to have it that the transfer window used to cut off before the start of the season. And that was brilliant for teams because they knew what they're doing when they went into the season. Their players are all sorted, but all of a sudden, because the Europeans said, "Oh no, ours is different," so they changed it back to sort of tie in with Europe now again. So you can find your players like Ivan Toney, whoever, disappearing weeks after the end of the transfer window. So would it be sensible for UEFA to look at bringing all the transfer windows in line as well, so everyone does it at the same time? So I'm talking about the time, which does my head in, and also the cut-off point.
The January one is fine, obviously, because that's just a month. And it makes it a really long summer for those involved doing the deals, players, staff, families, journalists, media. Not complaining at all. It helps keep me in a living. And for many, it's a sport within the sport. It's box office. People salivate for this transfer news, and there's a real insatiable appetite that seems to be growing to the extent that you could, and I've said this before, report on a transfer during a match, even a big match these days, and the transfer news will get bigger traction than the match itself. And that's very telling on modern sort of society and football fans and what their interests are and attention spans. And I think the concept of trading is exciting for sports fans in the States and similar here and around Europe.
But it's almost like it's great for you. You know, Sky's brilliant, the whole 2 months, transfer. And most of the time, there's nothing really happening. It's just nonsense. They're just making it up.
Yeah. That week though, it's so unrealistic. These deals, they can take forever. I'm not just talking about League Two, but you can be in contact with an agent for almost a year, I would have thought, at that type of level. And you also have to wait. It's a minute example from all the Premier League stars and stuff, but we've been chasing a player for quite some time. Then they're arguing with the club about paying them off. So you've got to wait for that. They're also then waiting for that team to sign a replacement for them. So there's so many complications to it. And then you wait. You have to wait to get to the start of the season. And I think by next Friday you'd have had 2 or 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks of the Football League, and then they've been left out. So then
So
you
surely
think,
if the window is
then they go
shorter,
and see the manager.
it'd be better for you, wouldn't it? Because then everyone's just got to do the deal, the other team, there's no messing around. They just know they've got to get the deal done.
I know where you're coming from, but it's just unrealistic. There's just too much to sort out, honestly. You talk about relocation for our types of players, and we're talking about players who could be on 1,500 to £3,000 a week. They can't just come to Manchester and rent a penthouse apartment. Do you know what I mean? They just can't afford that. So there's all complications. There's family sides to it. It's just, honestly, a week would be ideal and we'd absolutely love it, but
10 days.
it's just not enough.
Scholes, how do you deal with agents? Do you enjoy, you said before about getting a deal over the line, you quite enjoy that. I mean, how was it dealing with that side of it?
Well, I don't really deal with the agent that much. We have a head of recruitment. I tend to deal with the player. Because, look, again, it's our level, so agent fees aren't massive anyway. It's not a major thing about it. I always think it's best to go straight to the player. At any point you can, get his number, get some recommendations, you get what he's like as a lad, what he's been like as a player at the football club, and then go straight to him. I think the player seems to appreciate that as well. We had a player last week, actually, who we signed from Derby. I think the three of us got on the phone to him, including the manager. Ryan got on the phone to him, I got on the phone to him, and he was down at another club. He rang us the day after and said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm signing for this club down south," and we're all devastated.
I mean, the reason why I say it is that I know, again, as I'm a Brentford fan...
I'll just tell you that 1 minute.
Yeah,
sign for us. He was down at another club and he got down there, changed his mind, got the train up.
The Scholes factor.
Scholes, yeah, wow. Different kind of knock.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm going to say Brentford fan, and I know that, again, it's difficult for us sometimes to make transfers because if you're in against Man United, it makes it quite difficult. But also what we find is that you just get messed around quite a lot. And we know because we're small.
Which is why it can't take a week.
Yeah, we know. Well, but the thing is that I think that we would actually prefer it to be a week because we know that you've just got to get on with business. And the other times, then you can actually kind of organise a team business. But at the time, you've got teams going here, left, right, and centre. They say they're going to do a deal with you, then they do another sneaky one else with somebody elsewhere. It's kind of if you know you've got a week or 10 days, you literally have got to lock it down, or else oh no, if I don't do the deal, I'm out of it. So seriously, for clubs like us, it'd be brilliant. You wouldn't have teams like Tottenham coming in usurping us for players.
Sorry about that. Clubs like us, it would be brilliant as well. Honestly, we lost 2 players because. I feel weird talking about Salford and talking about Premier League football, do you know what I mean? I'm sorry about this, but we had 2 players and we couldn't do the medical for 2 days. I don't think we couldn't get the training ground, we couldn't get the facilities to do the medical, and within 2 days, a League One club had come in and took both of them.
Talking about medicals, you're talking about dodgy sources as well.
No, stop pointing at him.
He's just said he hasn't got.
We're still fighting for this title.
Talking about dodgy sources as well from the media, we also had a scenario as well. I run beside, which is like the Brentford fanzine and blog, okay? And especially in the Championship, we were kind of like all over the transfers. We knew what was going on, small club, but also what you didn't want to do, you didn't want to sort of break the news too early because you're ahead of the game, because then you could mess the deal up. So, as a fan, you don't want to do that. So we'd sit on these stories just waiting for it to go, and you knew when the right time you get the information, when's the right time for it to go, when the deal's been signed, everything like that. And all of a sudden, just before we're going to do it, bang, it used to press up. It's all over the media. I mean, how did that happen? So we worked out with a few of the people, and it happened about 4 or 5 times, and we worked out it was the medical room. So basically, when he went to do his medical, the guy at the medical room is probably getting a 50 quid check or probably £2,000 check, saying, right, we've got such and such coming in, and he'd leak the news out to the same person every time we go out with him, and they'd go over. So interesting to know what dodgy sources that you've got.
Let's be honest. You hear it all the time. We hear it. Your club's a disgrace. It can't do any deals, and the club are like you're saying, it's just taking time to actually get to it. So, do you think sometimes it comes out a little bit too soon? I'm not saying from you.
Well, no, for everybody that doesn't like the news coming out early, there are clearly loads of people that do. That's one thing. And I've got huge respect for Fabrizio and every journalist that works in not only this sphere, but there are much more important areas of journalism. I am tongue-in-cheek when I'm saying he's ruined. No, I know what you mean.
The news is out, isn't it?
No, exactly, for your the surprise element and things like that. There are still a few surprise deals. We had Tottenham with a really good signing of Wilson Odobert recently that hadn't really come out anywhere, and a few others over the years. One of the issues is that there are so many people involved in these transfers, the medics, the administration people, coaches, players. There are ramifications on the squad. They need to get kit ordered. They need to travel to do the medical and have conversations. And these things are happening. So it's inevitable, like in all walks of life, people do speak. And in my situation, you do have conversations where people explain the sensitivity, and if it's possible, and if you discuss it internally at my end, let's wait on this, because there's a chance that it might not happen. There's a chance that it's not quite where we thought. They're desperate for it not to come out, because, I don't know, another club might come in and ruin it. And that's not our responsibility, but we do have a conversation at our end. How strong is the sourcing? Do we trust the person enough that it won't just appear elsewhere? Because one of the inevitable things with the journalism is that if you're hearing it, the chances are somebody else is as well. And then it's about trying to handle it as best possible. So speaking to the clubs involved, and I always try and get to the point where it doesn't hurt or cause harm and it's as safe as possible. That isn't always the case, and many of us got the information on somebody like Archie Gray that was getting closer and closer at Brentford, and it came out, and then he went somewhere else. I'll be completely honest, I think irrespective of the reporting, it's an easy excuse to say the reporting changed it. I think he probably would have ended up at Tottenham. They know what's going on. That's the other thing. The clubs, they've all got better intelligence than most journalists.
And agents will play off, won't they?
And I actually think, to your suggestion of a week to 10 days and take my journalism out of it, I think it would be complete chaos and is totally unrealistic and unfeasible, honestly. The amount that goes on, a lot of us, and I'm a fan as well, we sort of play Football Manager. It's like, oh, get rid of him and we're going to bring him in and we're done. I always see like Chiesa is going to be our midfielder and Barella's coming in tomorrow, and get rid of Longstaff and this. It's like, no, it's not.
You've got Longstaff, Barella and Chiesa. Where did that go?
You see these names flying about. So I do think the time is needed. I totally understand the frustration. One thing you've got to remember is like finances as well. When revenues are coming on board, the next round of television money, sponsorship deals kick in. A club can't do something until they've got the right finances in place. And there are so many moving parts that means that, you know, the negotiations do take time. Like, if we don't really speak about this with negotiating a big deal for a bank or an electricity cut, whatever. That it does need patience. In terms of your point about the cut-off, for a couple of years it was before the season started. Well, the rest of Europe didn't fall in line. They were perfectly happy with the end of August. And so the Premier League and English football had to revert, because it makes a farce of the situation. If you're closing your options off in early August and they can continue trading, they could take your players and you can't replace them, which is a bit of a problem with what happened with the Saudi Pro League last year, in that they stayed open for 7 or 9 more days. And there was all this conversation about Mohamed Salah and will he get sold, and Liverpool have no time to replace him. So
I think, sorry David, I think in answer to the question, 7 to 10 days would be brilliant. We'd all love it from our point of view. I don't think David agrees with that. He wouldn't like that from his point of view, but from us, it would be. We can't wait to get 2 or 3, 4 players in, and it's done.
We're going to get to best and worst transfers now. So I'm going to start with you, Scholesy. Manchester United. Are we talking about Salford or United?
Salford, you won't have heard of it.
Go on, United. Best signing.
The best signing, right? There's.
In transfer, Premier League history.
Narrow it down. Obviously, Eric was £1 million. You talk about value for money, what he brought to the club. Do
you think that could be the best in the Premier League history, considering what he did and how it changed for Man United?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think they were missing that final piece of the jigsaw, and that was him. And for £1 million, I know in them days it probably still a bit of money, wasn't it? It wasn't loads and loads of money, but for what he did for the club, and you know, he just had a major for the money, for the worth, for the value. Just the influence of him on the football club was incredible.
Worst?
It's easy, that one.
No, I was going to say Wayne Rooney's the best. Sorry, I know it was a big one, but I think Wayne Rooney for 25 million was ridiculous. 5 league titles? He's the leading goal scorer, 253 goals. Go on, the worst. Go on.
Go on, Adam.
It has to be Anthony, doesn't it? I mean, he's got no redeeming
qualities. Do you know, I was going a bit further back than that. Yeah, but yeah.
I thought you Varane.
No, Varane was a good player in Europe. I remember in Europe he was.
Varane was a great player, talented player. Don't really know why it just didn't work for him, but what a footballer.
Am I right? I go back to the
goalkeepers. Yeah, Europe he was brilliant. Yeah, I go back to the goalkeepers, mate. Do you know when you had to try and replace Peter Schmeichel, which he's always going to be difficult, and we had a few.
Fabian was a weird one because in the modern day, I think he'd be unreal.
Fabian
Barthez, I think with the ball at his feet now is exactly
he'd be
what
great. I was thinking more like Taiba, Mark Bosnich. I thought he was a good keeper at Villa, Mark. He came to us. He was so unprofessional, honestly. It was ridiculous. His shooting practice, you know, I'm like 15, 12. After 3 shots, he's knackered. No. Get someone. And I never realised he couldn't kick a football. Honestly, I'd never seen anything like it. We actually played Everton away the first game of the season, and none of us picked up on it. He couldn't reach the halfway line. And there was no wind. It was a perfect day.
You still won, though.
But then you look at his feet. Yeah, we probably won, yeah. You look at his feet. Size 14s. Honestly, he was just kicking the floor all the time. Honestly, big flippers on, but honestly, disappointing.
Eric wasn't really £1 million, though, was he? They had to tell them to say that it was £1 million, but it was actually...
No, it was the other way around. The fella from Leeds, I can't remember who it was, he asked Fergie if he could say it was 1.3, and Fergie said, say whatever you want. Yeah. But it was $1 million. Cantona's the best by far for Manchester United. Yeah. Every season we won the league with him, apart from the season he was suspended as well. And he brought the league over with him from Leeds. But Anthony's got to be the worst. He refuses to play left-back, has a moan, scored a few goals, but cringy celebration.
You talk about the money as well, when you talk about value for money as well, it's not been good, has it? No. I think of Sanchez as well. Big
especially what he did to like the dressing room, I think, the wages and everything, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Go on, who are we going for?
My worst one?
Go on.
I'm going to go for Bosnich.
He'll be right on the socials, won't he? He won't take that lying down.
He'll have something to say, won't he?
Steve, Man City.
Yeah.
You've bought obviously a lot of players over the last 10 or 12 years. What's the one that stands out? There's so many, but there's the one.
For me, it was when we were in the lower leagues. We were getting beat every week, and we signed Andy Morrison.
I know that feels.
I know. I watched you last night. It was terrible. We signed Andy Morrison for 50 grand, and if you looked at him when we signed him, he just looked like
Joe Royle signed him.
Was it Royle who signed
him?
He
might have done,
I think it was Joe Royle, wasn't it?
And he just gave us a different edge. So he stands out for me. But the best signing for me was Sergio Aguero. I think for 35 million, a decade at the club, broke all the records. I feel like.
But was 35 million massive at the time?
It was big, but I feel like what he did, I'd never seen anyone like him for us.
What was David Silva? How much did he cost?
He was less, I think. He was less than Aguero. There's so many, but for me personally, Andy Morrison stands out because he gave us a bit of grit, and we went on and got promoted there at the Gillingham game, and then Aguero for what he did, you know what I mean, for City with the title goal and all that. And the worst one, there's loads, mate. There's absolutely loads. I mean, Wilfred Boney.
Remember that?
We got rid of
from Swansea.
Yeah. Wilfred Boney, 40-odd million. We had Jack Rodwell. When we won the league, we signed Rodwell, Sinclair.
I thought he was going to be a brilliant player, Jack Rodwell.
Rodwell, Sinclair and Javi Garcia. And United signed Van Persie. So that ended well. And then there's been a load. George Weah, free transfer, I think. George Weah came in, World Player of the Year at Main Road.
I'll tell you a story about George Weah. So you're saying he played for... Oh, yeah, Joe Royle brought him, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I remember he played for Chelsea, so I'm playing against George Weah. So something's happened, a bit of a tackle, Nottingham, and the ball's where attacking, or it's gone for a corner, so I'm on the halfway line, he just went... He looked at me back just to check who I was, who my name was, and I was like, oh. So that was a bit of a come down. So, Chloe, Liverpool-wise...
Yeah, best, I mean... I think it's got to be Salah for the price. Look, I'd look at Virgil and Ali as well up there, but we spent a little bit more on them. So it's got to be Salah. 300 goal contributions in 350 games. Not bad for a one-season wonder. Not bad for someone who gets compared to Hazard, whilst Hazard is sat with a packet of crisps. And Salah is doing it in the Premier League still. So yeah, I think for me in my lifetime, I think he's our best. I mean, Luis Suarez was pretty incredible, but he didn't have enough time here at Liverpool. As for the worst, thankfully, a lot of them that were bad were when I was really young, like Diouf and Paul Konchesky as well. But I still can't believe we actually went after Balotelli when he was done so many years beforehand. And he was our Suarez replacement.
He only needed a cuddle. The blue side of Manchester loved him, you know what I mean? But
I mean, I forgot about Balotelli. That was almost one of them signings. I think I'd just left that you almost know it's going to fail before it's even happened. You know, you're thinking, oh no. The one I remember for myself, when we were like a really good side, and obviously Alonso went when we bought Aquilani.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, but he was injured. We bought him injured. I think he must have played about 6 games.
20 million.
That was it.
what about
was that?
Ricky Lambert?
Wasn't he?
20.
I mean, big reputation.
Yeah, it was a right few quid at the time, and it was just like.
We spent on Markovic as well, who we couldn't even get to leave the club at the end of him, Lazar Markovic.
I mean, that's my frustration a little bit when FSG get criticism over transfers. When you actually go back to before they came, the players we bought and some of the players that turn up and just goes, you know what it's like. New signing comes in, you give him about a week, don't you?
Yeah.
You give him about a week in training, saying, what's he like? Come on. But you're desperate for him to do well. But so many players, when we were playing, they come through the door and you'd be like, how are they at Liverpool? Would you be thinking that? Because you're thinking, oh, we need top players to catch United or Chelsea or Arsenal. You're just like, so what they do now at Liverpool, I would never criticise it because more often than not, they get it right. But one club who don't normally get it right, Baz.
I was going to get a little bit of airtime, a little bit of like...
I mean, there's been a lot of Everton, hasn't there, over the years in the Premier League era.
Are we going bad ones first?
Well, you can go with Everton. I mean, is there any good ones?
Shut up, mate. Come on. If we're doing just Premier League era, I've got 3 that stand out, really. Seamus Coleman.
Yeah.
Obviously.
60 grand, Seamus Coleman.
Lukaku. He done well for Everton. Everton's top goal scorer in the Premier League. I think he was good. But the one that, when we bought, was like, what a signing. He was only here for 18 months, but he was incredible. You were still never Evertonian when we got him, so you should
I know what you're going to say.
Andre and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Got him. He was unbelievable at United. Yeah. We just won the FA Cup, Joe Royal, and...
Didn't he do his shoulder in the first game against us?
Lee Sharp. Yeah. And I think Sharp scored the volley as well and was giving it the arse. But getting him was unbelievable. Because I remember I was working at Everton at the time and there was a dispute with United over it. I think his other club wanted money or whatever it was, and Fergie had done the don't you dare go and all that. And Everton training at Goodison a few days before the season started, and he walked in with a pair of boots. He wasn't supposed to be training. And all the players start clapping, I'm just like...
You didn't phone David, did you?
No, kept it to myself. But he was I watched him today, he was unbelievable.
I was a 16-year-old kid when Kanchelski's first signed for us, and he came over to the training ground the day he signed, and I was playing left back.
I can't wait.
Pace?
Yeah, I was playing. Yeah,
you went up against
my pace, my height, my strength, everything. And they brought fucking Andre over and trained with us. He destroyed me, honestly. I nearly retired from football that day. I was 16.
Right foot, left foot, pace, power.
But the speed of him, like I say, it was a day sign of what's going on here. It was just brilliant. It was a great player. Great lad as well. Really nice lad.
I've interviewed, he's hard work interviewing him because the language in that.
Russian.
Good lad. The worst, there's been a lot. So I don't want to name players and just go, he was terrible. But the worst one, I think, overall, will be Jean-Philippe Gbamin, because we paid 25 million for him. Supposed to replace Idrissa Gueye, and he got an injury, a week after he played his first game, tore his thigh muscle and ended up playing about 5 games for Everton. And he's just failed the medical for New York Red Bulls, so it's still...
Who would you go for the best in the Premier League?
The best ever signing?
Yeah.
I mean, Salah's up there just for goals, isn't he? I think Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, how can you look past that? Unbelievable. Aguero, them kind of play. United have had a few over the years. I think... It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's, what are you judging it on? Good players, you know what I mean?
No, but I think sometimes the value, isn't it, as well? And then what they go, that's the thing with the Cantona.
Salah, Cantona was unbelievable, wasn't he? And he was mad, Cantona as well, wasn't he?
Thierry Henry. Massive for
11 million, wasn't it?
Just ridiculous value if you look at it long term.
Dan?
What, Palace? It's going back before the current spell, but if you look at what Andy Johnson came in for, he came in as a make-weight for Clinton Morrison to go to Birmingham City, and then scored 30 goals to get us up, scored 21 goals in the Prem, stayed with us for another year to try and get us back, and then went to Everton for 8.6, and then we got Clinton back for 2 mil. So technically, we got paid £3 million to have both of them. So that value-wise has to be. I think if you're looking at the current Premier League crop, it's difficult to look past Wilfried Zaha just because he carried us on his back for so many years after going off to United and it not quite working. And worst transfer, I'm not sure if it was a free or not, but it's still terrible, Emmanuel Adebayor, because he came in...
I don't remember that.
Exactly. Well, there you go. He came in.
What about Eze for value?
Yeah, in fact, well, if you're looking at Michael Olise as well, £8 million. Yeah. Appreciate we've only had him for 3 years, but I mean, I would imagine over the next couple of years he could easily go on to be a £100 million player because he's up there. But yeah, Emmanuel Adebayor, just to go back to it, terrible. Scored 1 goal for us, left, said that we were the biggest mistake of his career. And yeah, just basically hated everything about it. So yeah, he has to be there for me.
Shaun, Chelsea, come on. I read something. I got sent a stat yesterday that under Todd Bowley, you've spent more money than Everton have in their entire history.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah. Signed 24 players in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, what do you want, the worst sign or the best signs?
Go on.
We could be on here for ages.
Go on.
I don't know, you could look at it in loads of different areas, like in terms of the influence of what it brought to us in bringing us from that 6th place, 7th place team to getting up there is when Matthew Harding brought in Ruud Gullit. Because Ruud Gullit's influence of bringing in the players like Vialli, like Desai, like Leboeuf, like Zola, like all of them players that came through when the Bosman ruling came in, I feel like that was a massive influence for us getting that step forward into trying to challenge him for the top 4 spaces. So I'd say Ruud Gullit was massive for us back then. Because he was known to playing up front, but then whenever we needed him to do a job at centre-half or centre midfield, he'd come in and do that job. So, yeah, just the additions of what he was able to bring in with his influence. It's very easy to say Eden Hazard at the money that he was worth. Matic was considerably cheap considering he played and dominated midfields across the Premier League.
I just thought we were going to go for Lampard now. How much was Frank?
Yeah, Frank was cheap.
11, wasn't he?
Is Frank not your greatest ever player?
Yeah, probably. Frank and JT. That's my personal favourites.
So Frank
and Zola. Zola was different gravy for us.
I get sent that video every year on the Zola has me in the corner.
Take it for your I love that clip.
All the Chelsea fans just tweeting me. It goes out for a goal kick. I'm like, oh my God, you scored. Just forget about it.
But you did get chopped a few times.
The clip roll on. I always get the edited version. So there's obviously been a few bad ones, certainly some of late. But I mean, is there anything that you go back in the past as well?
Probably Chris Sutton.
Yeah.
Sutton scored 1 goal for us and then that was it. And I got him on my shirt as well. That's it. I was young. I was quite young, but I got Sutton on the back of my shirt.
Shevchenko?
I was going to say Shevchenko.
Shevchenko was £30 million. I feel like we've had worse strikers in the past couple of years. Torres, Morata, Higuain. Like it's been Danny Drinkwater never.
It's centre forwards you've had there, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
I think there's like a curse. There was always like a thing, like a curse on Chelsea strikers, or wearing the number 9 was.
That's what it is, and then a lot of them cost us.
Boularus wore the 9.
Boularus wore the 9. Steve Sidwell wore the 9. Steve Sidwell was.
I remember when Torres. So obviously, we had Torres, and he wasn't the same player. He pulled his hamstring in the World Cup final. He then played for us, I think, for about 6 months, and he was under Roy Hodgson. It wasn't going well for anybody. But the one good game he had was against Chelsea. That year we beat you 2-0 at Anfield, and he scored 2.
Yeah.
And he always scored against us. So I think Abramovich was like, we're buying him. So we got the release clause. So 50 million, which we then used on Andy Carroll and Luis Suarez. And we played his first game. It was a debut. And it didn't go well for him on the debut. And it just never, ever felt like it was going to work. And it's almost like Ancelotti didn't want him. He didn't really know what to do with him.
Well, I was excited because I actually made BBC News that afternoon because I was the first person in to buy the Torres shirt. And they grabbed me coming out of me getting 50 mil Sheva. And sorry, they got Torres. And it was just crazy.
You haven't got the Jackson shirt as well, have you?
Listen, I was the first person in because injuries weren't really seen back then to be affecting the players. So when we signed Torres, I was just like, wow. So
you think about the Liverpool one, the Suarez and Carroll coming in for that money. You'd expect it the other way around, I would have thought, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I always remember that morning. It was so that was I think I'm right in saying that was dead. It was actually the last day.
January 2011.
It was the last day, and I just remember it's almost when you come into training, like the foyer or the reception, and you just like you come in, you just go, whoa. Normally there's nobody there. It's a couple of balls you got to sign or something like that. You say hello to them, and on reception, and you just walk into the dressing room, and it was just like there was people everywhere. There was our staff, agents, secretaries, and it was just like, oh my God, and I never forget that day.
Got helicoptered down from Newcastle.
Yeah, and then you're going back to watching on the TV when you get home, Sky Sports News, because you obviously finished the train at 2 o'clock, and it's like Liverpool have bid 25, now it's 30, now it's 35. You're thinking, oh my God, where's this coming from? I think Suarez might have, I don't know if Suarez was the last day or he'd come a few days before or maybe
Suarez
a week.
was earlier in that window.
Yeah.
And how much was he, Suarez?
He was about 22. So the money virtually paid for it. But obviously when you think about what happened with Andy Carroll, you think about bad signing to Liverpool. But Brendan Rodgers just came in and straight away he just said, he's not playing for me. So it was like, so who
signed Kenny?
Kenny would have signed, but I think it was more like, Kenny was almost interim manager then. Whereas I think it was more the club, Liverpool were going down that road where they had like a transfer committee, and it was like, he's the best young English striker out there. But there was none of this, what Liverpool would do today, would they go, that's our price and we're not going above it. You know, but it was just like, Newcastle just knew they had Liverpool, just kept going. And he was never a Liverpool player or type of player, you know, big tall centre forward, he wasn't very mobile, but we were probably fortunate that if you do that deal again, you'd probably say, you know what, we'll take that because we got Luis Suarez, who was amazing. He ended up selling for 60, 70 million, wasn't it, at the time? Forest?
It's an easy one. I think you'll agree with me for once as well on the signings. And it isn't even for Forest. It was when we got Roy Keane over.
Oh, yeah.
From League of Ireland, like, played 100 and odd games for us, but then obviously what he went to do at Man United, Stan Collymore as well, he was just incredible. And in recent terms, one of the main reasons we got into the Premier League was Brice Samba. And that's the biggest mistake I think we've made in this entire new era, is not keeping hold of him, because we've struggled with goalkeepers ever since, and he was just a brilliant character. But yeah, Roy Keane, Keaney, he was called at Forest, not Keano, but what a player, and Brian Clough bringing him over, just like, the rest is history.
I always remember, like, even if you go back further in the Premier League, Forest were a teammate who were not afraid to spend big. I mean, I remember he's buying Peter Shilton, obviously a long time ago. It was a lot of money for a goalie. Who was it? Was Trevor Francis?
First £1 million. Although a similar story, Cloughy insists that it was 999,000, and he put him in the reserves first game as well. So like typical Clough. But worst signings. I mean, you could reel off some of our 40, but for me, and it isn't against the player, it was more the terms with Harry Arter. He was in our bomb squad. He was training with the under-21s. When we got promoted, he got an extra year put on his contract at 40 grand a week, just because that was in his terms when he signed for us. John Joe Shelby as well, that was a really bad one, but we're learning. We're going to get
in there, aren't you?
We're going to get our Stella signing this summer, aren't we, David? And that'll be it.
Ben, Tottenham.
How long have you got? We've had some bad ones. The more money we spend, the worse they kind of get. So the ones that we've brought in, when you look at Bale and Modric, the kind of fees that we paid for them, obviously Bale took a long time to work out. Obviously he was at left back, was very young. Obviously Redknapp took the chance and played him further up the pitch, and then after that just didn't look back. When you think back to that, the last season he left before he went to Madrid, every single game, every single week, he just put us on his back. It was ridiculous, scoring goals from 30 yards to win games in the last minute. Modric again was about 15 million pounds maybe, and obviously what they've both gone on to do. Van der Vaart was one that I always loved as well, because it was on deadline day around 8 million pounds, and it was again kind of in that era where you didn't really hear that much going into it, and then all of a sudden Spurs have just signed someone from Real Madrid. And again,
sorry for interrupting you, Ben. You know what's really interesting? There's a book out at the moment on how Liverpool went about sort of bringing the players. Is it Ian Graham?
Yeah.
So he's brought a book out about how they went about transfers, and I started reading it a couple of days ago, and the story of Van der Vaart in it. This guy was actually at Tottenham, right, and there was sort of 4 players you were looking at, and it almost felt like that the transfer people, if you like, not so much Harry Redknapp, said they wanted Van der Vaart. Yeah. So they take him, and there ends up being a fallout within Tottenham because of that. Even though obviously maybe a fan favourite, he did well for you. I think there was a fallout between Harry Redknapp and Michael Edwards. I don't know if you've already read that book, David. No, but
I need to read it. Yeah.
That was the story in it. Yeah. That sort of friction that can be caused, obviously inside the club between transfers.
Well, he came like with Van der Vaart. He just came in and got it straight away. He always scored against Arsenal. Like the relationship that he had with the fans as well. For £8 million, I think it was. It was like, and that was the season we got into the Champions League as well. I remember everyone talks about Bale's performance in the San Siro in the group game where he scored a hat-trick. Van der Vaart scored the first goal when we beat them at home in the second game in the group, and that feeling of being at White Hart Lane then, it's just like, just goosebumps kind of thinking about that. The worst one, hands down, it's got to be Ndombele. And I'm so glad that we've signed Solanke this summer because he's now our record signing, which means I don't have to say that Tanguy Ndombele is our record signing anymore, because he was, quite frankly, a bit of a disgrace. Like in the way that, like again,
he was lazy, wasn't he? I remember
lazy.
Analysing him in a game, yeah.
We'd just come off the back of the Champions League final, lost to Liverpool, and it was like clearly that squad needed a bit of a rebuild. Obviously with Poch, I think people, it burnt out quicker than people thought, and obviously he got sacked in, I think, November that year. But the signs were coming, and we needed fresh players. We needed to go and spend big. We hadn't bought a single player the summer before, and then we went and bought Ndombele, Lo Celso, and I think it was Sessegnon as well. And I mean, Ndombele and Lo Celso, big money signings, haven't worked out. Both of them are going out the door this summer. And I come back to the ruthlessness we were talking about earlier in terms of how we play. That's been the best thing about the transfer window for Spurs, not just with the players that we brought in, but the players that we've finally just gone, you need to go, you need to get rid of. I remember there was an FA Cup game against, I think it was Morecambe, that we played a few years ago. We were 1-0 down at home, and he got substituted around the 60th minute. He just trudged off, and they had the whole stadium booing him. And it was just like, that's it, done. He had so many opportunities to come in. Jose took a liking to him when he...
Didn't he take him over the park in COVID?
Yeah, he did, yeah. And then that second season, I remember that where we were top under Jose for a while, he was showing that potential of...
Are you still talking about Ndombele?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember a game away at Burnley, because I looked at it on the Monday night. Did Jose bring him off before half-time?
It was just before lockdown. Yeah.
But was it actually before half-time?
Yeah, or...
It was something that stood out.
Either just before half-time, or I remember you.
It was something like that. And I did analysis on him, because at the time everyone was having a bit of a go at Jose, you know, and I was sort of almost defending him, saying, look, well, that's why he's done it. Yeah. And then a few weeks later, I bumped into Pochettino at a Champions League game at Anfield, and he brought him in.
Yeah.
And he was adamant, saying, no, you've got it wrong, this fella's a good player. Obviously, he brought him in, but he just never, ever showed anything, didn't he?
No, he was the one, like you said, with Poch, he was £60-odd million. We needed that kind of statement signing to kick back on again after the Champions League final defeat. And it was a bit of a shame, really, because Poch, like you said, really, really wanted him, but he didn't really get any time to work with him. Obviously, he was sacked a couple of months into the start of that season, and Ndombele had a few injuries when he first came as well. And then Mourinho and him just never felt like it was going to work. But Mourinho actually ended up getting the best out of him at Spurs. We had a 2 or 3 month period where he looked like one of the best midfielders in the league, and it was like, finally, we're seeing that again. And then we've let our £65 million signing go on a free, and sometimes you have to take those hits because it's just never going to.
What did you do with the Bale money? I seem to remember it was like 4 or 5, maybe even 6.
It was Ericsson, Lamela, Soldado, Kirakes, Capu, and
Brazilian midfielder
Paulinho. And Ericsson was the one. Like Ericsson was also one of the cheapest. He was around £12-13 million, and again, I don't think he quite. Obviously, still playing at United. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves for
he was a good player.
the player. He was an incredible player for Tottenham. And Lamela was a good, became a bit of a cult hero and had his moments. But other than that, it was, not good.
Billy?
So, best player. I mean, you've got to remember that Brentford have been, I've supported them in the third tier, the third division for most of my life. So, if you want to go down to best players, you look at people like, I remember back in the day, Dean Holdsworth. I mean, Dean Holdsworth scored... I think he scored 40 goals for us one season. I mean, like, who scores 40 goals in a season? It's ridiculous. Brilliant players, people like him. There's Big Bob Taylor as well, who was great for us up front. And then, one of my favourite players I still talk to, he's out in Australia at the moment now, Lloyd Owusu as well. Okay, so, but they scored for us in like the third tier and the fourth tier. And as Brentford fans, we look back at those era as like, with real fondness, because that's our roots, that's where we come from. So, but if you're going to match them against the players that you've got now, in reality, it's not going to be the case. So you can't look past, look at Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney, listen, he got us out of the Championship, into the Premier League, 3 seasons in the Premier League, 20 goals in 1 season. He's a great player. He's got, his vision, his passion, everything like that. He is a great player. It's always a but, but I'll come back to the but I've got to look at, before we were in the Premier League, the Championship, we had a sort of called the BMW, I'll try it again, Benrahma, Mbeumo and Watkins, okay? And Ollie Watkins, 1.5 million, we signed him from Exeter City. Brilliant player, lovely kid. Played for us out in the wing, actually. So he was out in the wing, I think it was Malpe was up front. Learning his game, still young, learning his game. Again, Thomas Frank, brilliant manager, teaching him his game the whole time. Got to do this, got better and better as it goes along. Neil Malpe was, I know a lot of people, I know you're not happy with Malpe. We love Malpe, okay? He bleeds.
You wouldn't pay £3 million for him, no, would you?
He bleeds red and white. But Malpe got transferred off to Brighton. We let him go even though there's beef between us and Brighton, but that's a different story altogether. We wouldn't normally sell a player to Brighton, but we did in this stage. So we went off to Brighton, and we were meant to sign a player actually who was meant to come to us, but he turned up with a load of gangsters, right, as his agents. That's why I'm not mentioning his name, because I don't want them to come around to my house. And so this player, like, we were doing the deal with him, and we were like, yeah, this is going to be the top player, and all these gangsters, like, it was quite bad. And in the end, I think all the directors of football were like, we can't do a deal with this guy, it's really bad. So the deal didn't happen at the last minute. So all of us were like, oh no, we've just lost like an 18-goal season striker. The striker we thought we were going to get, we've got the gangsters involved, and we're not going to sign him. We've got no one. So Dean Smith, it's Thomas Frank. I think put his arm around Ollie Watkins and said, Ollie, you ever played up front? And he was like, no. He goes, well, I'll teach you. So in the end, he actually moved him from the wing to up front. And I remember, I think he turned around to the fans, he said to me, I've got this new position to play. I've never done it before, so be patient with me if you can do. And he did. It took him about two months, and he started off a little bit slow. Then I think he scored a hat-trick against Barnsley. Then after that, we thought he was okay. And then I think we were 2-0 down against Millwall in a game that we need to win. And all of a sudden, we scored 3 goals in the last 8 minutes. And I think he scored 2 of them, or maybe even scored a hat-trick. And that was it. And after Ollie Watkins was made. So for me, Ollie Watkins is I think he's honestly, and I've got real good memories of him. Talk about terrible players, I've got to go back to the old school. And this goes down in Brentford history. Anyone who sort of signs up to be a Brentford player is almost like, you need to know this player because he was so bad. So you've got Dean Holsworth, scores 40 goals for us, takes us from the 3rd tier to the 2nd tier. We love Dean Holsworth. Bang, he goes off to, I can't remember if it's Watford or Bolton at the time. Was it? Yeah. So he's gone, and we've left him. We had Neil Holder, we call him, I can't even remember his real name, but we call him Noddy Holder, our manager, right? Right, and he was like, all right, mate, how you doing? Right, yeah, don't you worry, I've got your new striker in front of Holdsworth, right, you know? It's like, okay, great, you know. All of us was really excited because as Brentford fans, we've never been out of the 3rd tier. For me, I'm like, oh, this is great, we're in the 2nd tier, and we've got this new striker coming in. And he signed this guy called Murray Jones. I don't even know where he came from. I think he's like Grimsby or something. He turned up, and he was rubbish, right? He was so bad, right? We've gone from 40 goals to 0 goals, right? In the Championship. So, like, we got relegated straight out of the 2nd tier to the 3rd tier, and we were stuck there till a few seasons ago. So
I hope we don't know any gangsters.
That's true, actually, yeah. There weren't no gangsters back in the day.
So, Alex, talk to me about Arsenal. It seems like you've got it all wrapped up at the moment with Arteta and Edu. Every transfer that comes in seems to work.
There's a lot of good long reads on The Athletic that you can go check out. It seems to be working really well. Mine are a bit more recent because I'm a younger fan, I suppose. I remember 13-14. We were on a title push and we ended up signing Kim Källström, who arrived with a broken back and was out for 6 weeks.
Left footed.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think he scored a penalty in the FA Cup semi-final. That was about it. So that was pretty stupid. But probably the worst. I remember waking up to an an Ornstein bomber of Nicola Pepe for £72 million. Oh, wow. And that felt like, whoa, we've arrived. You know, this is the moment. Because I think the Kroenkes had taken over full ownership the year before. Yeah. So this felt like, okay, the first summer we're going to spend some big money. And it just didn't work out. And look, I don't think Pepe's a terrible player. I think he thrives in big spaces. And Arteta just doesn't play like that. He doesn't play on the transition in that way. I think also culturally it just didn't fit. But for £72 million, like for what we got back from that, considering...
How far as a club do you think that knocks you back? Because I do feel that that's why I'm not that bottom in Liverpool. I'm buying lots of bigs. I think if you make a couple of bad transfers, I think it knocks you for a couple of years. You're waiting to get them out, get them off the wage bill. And it felt like you had to wait a couple of years, even with Aubameyang's contract, wasn't there, and Ozil's contract?
Yeah. I mean, divine intervention, Bukayo Saka just comes out of the academy. Do you know what I mean? Like, and one of the, like, if that hadn't happened, then I completely agree we'd be in a different situation. Yeah, again, I just want to stress, I think there's no ill will for Pepe. It was just wrong time. There was stuff going on in the background with Raul Sanllehi, our Director of Football or Head of Football Operations or something. Best. Again, mine are a bit more recent. I'm looking at Martin Ødegaard, firstly, for £30 million. That's unbelievable business. But William Saliba, I think it came out last night, he's in the PFA Team of the Year. He's gone French Team of the Year, 21-22. He's gone Premier League Team of the Year, 22-23, and he's just got in the Team of the Year again. This could sound hyperbolic, but I'm happy to say it. I think Saliba could end up being Arsenal's greatest ever centre-back. I'm not saying he's there now. I'm saying he could stay at Arsenal and become...
competition there, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. And obviously I'm biased, I'm a younger fan. But it's like he glides through. I've never seen anything like it. The way he plays, I honestly... It looks like the Prem's too easy for him at times, and I'm sure that will get clipped up.
Yeah, it's a bit. He's a bit. He almost looks like a young Van Dijk, doesn't he? But it does feel that they've still got another gear to go to, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's extraordinary, and also I'm really glad to see Gabriel's getting the praise he deserves, because Gabriel, and part of the reason I think we signed Calafiori is if you go back and watch the Bayern game, Bayern basically overload our right hand side and stop us. They put about 3 fullbacks on Saka, right, and it meant that Gabriel was free. Gabriel's a brilliant player, but he's not got the top quality on the ball. He's not going to carry through you and do any of that. That's why I think we've got Calafiori. But defending the box, going over the shoulder, Gabriel is unbelievable. He's so good. And I'm so glad he's getting the praise he deserves.
Where does Henry come into that?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in '97, so it's hard. I mean, obviously, I saw the sort of...
I wish I was.
Yeah, like I remember he came back and there was a FA Cup game against Leeds where he scored, and it was just like, he's obviously, he probably is, I think he's our best ever player. But yeah, probably a little bit more biased. I mean, I honestly think someone like a Martin Odegaard, I want to go back to it. Like, I think there's a couple of things I'd love to see him work on, but in terms of the coach on the pitch, like, he's Mikel's man. He's Mikel's man on the pitch. He's unbelievable. For £30 million, I'm sure everyone overrates their own players, but if Madrid come in for him, that's 120 mil, 100 mil. Like, that's an incredible investment. And if he goes on to win titles and so on, captains the club, he's also, for me, a brilliant representative of Arsenal values, if that's,
Do you think he gets too carried away when he's win a game and celebrating?
I think you think.
Celebration police.
I think you had a chat with, how did you find that? How did you find him in that? Because he took that criticism, I think it just...
Oh, we did some on Monday night. He was in the. He was man of the match, wasn't he? A few weeks. He just had a good laugh about it.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a really good sign, because you don't want somebody who's going to, it's a joke, and you sort of move. I know Arsenal fans on Twitter came after you, but probably one
again.
Of them. But I just think as a representative of what he is, multilingual, representing the dressing room, the connection. Also, one of the things that Arsenal have done over the last couple of years really is properly reconnect with the fans, properly. Going into the community, properly, representing Arsenal, on screen, off screen, whatever. And obviously, you get someone like a Bukayo Saka, and Neil Smith-Rowe, I know he's moved on. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Gooner.
David, you break the transfers normally, but we're going to leave you with the deciding vote. So we've all had our opinions about our own clubs and best deal in the Premier League and worst deal. So come on.
We're spoilt for choice on both fronts, but there's a couple of clear winners for me. Worst, sorry to come back to United, Bebe. When Sir Alex Ferguson signed him, it was really uncharacteristic.
That was to get another deal done or something.
Still don't understand it.
That was get someone else off George Mendes.
We've had a lot of Chelsea chat today. Winston Bogart, who was one of the ones that didn't work out as he commuted to and from Amsterdam to train with Chelsea. In terms of the best, I think it's a pretty clear winner and a no-brainer, N'Golo Kante. He came from nowhere at very little cost to Leicester City, helped them win a title at 5,000 to 1 odds, then went on to win multiple major trophies with Chelsea and the French national team. He's an incredible footballer to this day, and he's a wonderful person as well. So that's going to get my vote among many fantastic signings the Premier League has seen. And one shock one that I think will never be replicated was Sol Campbell to Arsenal, because you mentioned the coming home to Sky Sports. I remember coming home from school to Sky Sports, and he was walking through London Colney with David Dean, and I think everybody thought he was going to Barcelona at the time.
Yeah, it was a little bit just before my time, but I still feel the hatred there.
Yeah, and that was a Premier League shock transfer factor.
Branthwaite?
Sorry?
He's just gone.
He's just gone.
I mean,
million to spend then.
I mean, I'd have always said Cantona, but when you've just said Kante, then you do think about it too, yeah. And winning the title with 2 teams. Obviously Cantona did that, but then he moved to United. I'd probably still just go for Cantona above Kante, actually. Just for you think of what Man United became, just became a monster, didn't it, in terms of sort of revenue, money, the Premier League exploding. So probably go for Cantona. And worst, who did you go for? You went for Bosnus, that was a Man United one. In the Premier League.
You can think back longer than most of us. Ali Daei.
Oh, yes, I'm going to go with that one. I am going to go with that one. Do you know that one? The great Souness story.
Southampton, yeah.
George Weah. Yeah, we'll go with that one because there's no way he watches the overlap, is there?
I was too worried about offending players that we know or will come after us. Not the gangster type, just the people themselves. But I don't know where Ali Daei... I don't even think he was a footballer, genuinely. I think there was a mistake in the actual transfer. And they bought over...
You can't even bring that up as a joke with Graham Souness. You know, he doesn't... You can't even joke about it. I think he's not offended, I think a little bit embarrassed by it, but it's a great story, isn't it? Right, that's it for another episode of The Fan Debate, brought to you by SkyBet.